Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and I want to start this video first with this very crazy Bible quote, right? Or Bible verse. And it says, "The road to hell is paved in good intentions." Now, I know this sounds crazy when it comes to student loan debt and all this stuff on this topic, but in reality, when you think about it, all of these presidents, they always start off with the best intentions, with all the craziest, luxurious promises ever. Hey, you and you and you, I'm going to forgive student loans for everybody. I'm going to make a plan. And then boom, they get into office like, hey, so what happened about that? And they're like, next question. You know, it's like when you take a girl out on the first date and you go, you're very nice, you buy her dinner, you buy her lunch, you buy her breakfast, you buy everything. And all of a sudden you get home, you try to text and there's like, oh, you got ghosted. You know, it's the same thing, but with a president. By the way, that can also be for a guy, vice versa, all that good stuff. But overall, that's how I kind of feel, you know, a lot of promises. And now we're like in limbo. Like, hey, are our student loan debts actually going to be forgiven? And what is actually going to happen? So I decided to go ahead and make a video about it and give you guys some updates. So in this video right here, I'll tell you exactly what is going on with student loan debt. Is it going to be forgiven? Has they made any progress whatsoever? And on top of that, should you be paying them or should you not be paying them? Or should you just be waiting and being patient without making any payments? In this video, I'm gonna break everything down. As always, smash the like button, appreciate it a ton. And on top of that, if you're new here, subscribe and join the long-term team family. Now, the very first thing is this, guys. What has been the current situation so far and what has happened? Well, in reality, ever since March of 2019, we have had around 2 to 3 payment extensions. And on top of that, we've been charged around 0% interest on our federal loans. Obviously, this does not apply for private loans like with banks, credit unions, and also private lenders. However, us with federal student loan debt like me, all my student loan debt, by the way, are around $21,000, and it is all federal. Guess what? I haven't had to make a payment in the past 2 years. And for the past 2 years, I haven't been charged a penny worth of interest. And to me, that is awesome. So here is the news, guys. I went on my loan provider. For me, I used Nelnet, or they gave me Nelnet when I was in college. I had no choice, okay? So I got Nelnet, and I went to the whole blog and website, and they said basically, hey, according to the whole government, and what they're saying is that this is the final extension, meaning after this, you will have to start making payments. But, you know, could that change? Who knows? Things can change. Nobody knows. However, though, up to January 31st, you will be not charged any interest, not required to make any payments. But after January 31st, February 1st, guess what? Interest is going to start accruing. You will have to start making your payments. That is what is actually being said for federal student loan holders. So it looks like, hey, we've had a lot of extensions. We're still in limbo about, hey, when are we actually going to get student loan forgiveness? Is it actually going to happen? And that is what I'm going to break down right now, guys, okay? Now, here is some fun facts I kind of want to tell you guys just for perspective here. Statistics show, guys, that basically only around 1% of applications submitted for student loan forgiveness actually get accepted. This is pre-pandemic, pre-everything. So even then, usually, the whole forgiveness thing is like this very wild dream. More than often, it never actually happens, even when you actually qualify, okay? So just keep that in perspective. And so far, I will admit some things, okay? President Biden has made quite a dent in student loan forgiveness. In reality, he has forgiven, according to NerdWallet, somewhere around $9.5 billion in targeted student loan relief plans. Meaning, for example, if you're a teacher, disability, all these things, you kind of got your student loan forgiveness because basically that was actually targeted for those people. And that affected around 560,000 individuals. And you might say, Tommy, well, this right here is awesome, okay? Around 9.5 billion forgiven, and it actually helped around 560,000 people. Yeah, it has, right? But it's kind of like taking a bucket and putting it into the ocean, be like, hey, I made a big difference. I just basically drained the entire ocean. Like, no, you didn't. Do you not see, like, is still full of water? It's the same thing. Here's why. Because we actually have around 42 million people in America that actually have student loan debt. And we actually hold a total of around $1.7 trillion. For perspective, 1,000 billion make 1 trillion, okay? So we owe around somewhere around 1,700 billion. And he paid around 9.5 billion, okay? And it helped around 560K, but 42 million need help. And we also have 1.7 trillion student loan debt. So although it seems like this big, massive help, it really hasn't pushed the needle whatsoever. So you're probably wondering, well, Tommy, what are the odds that we're actually gonna see a change? What are the odds that he's actually gonna go ahead and, for example, start pushing student loan forgiveness? And by the way, we've had a lot of promises pre-election, okay? I'm gonna do this, you know? And then people get in office, and again, it's like the date, okay? With the girl or with the guy, and then all of a sudden, you get ghosted, okay? At least, you know, you get ghosted at least once in a lifetime, okay? It happens all the time, okay? But it happens, and it's not nice, but it kind of happens, okay? You get asked a question, hey, student loan forgiveness. Next question, okay? No response. So here's the truth, guys, okay? Here is the news that I kind of have to give you. And honestly, it's not good news. I'm sorry, and I'm very mad about it, but it is what it is, okay? So let me break it down for you guys, okay? First of all, the president has the power to make an executive order and forgive all the federal student loans, okay? But he's not willing to actually do that. And it's the whole politics stuff and this and that, but let's just say, for example, he's not willing to actually do that. That's the truth. Second thing is, guys, okay, Congress actually went ahead and proposed, like, hey, what if we make a plan to actually, you know, help around everyone and forgive up to $50,000 per individual? He was like, even if I do accept that, I would only go ahead and forgive somewhere like around $10,000. That's the truth. And you might say, well, $10,000 is not really a lot. It's not going to push the needle. Well, it kind of is, because remember, we owe around 1.7 trillion. If we have 42 million people that actually owe money in student loan debt, and he pays around $10,000 per individual, that's around $420 billion actually paid, which leaves us with around 1.2 trillion dollars still in student loan debt. You know what this shows me, guys? These numbers are massive. And what it tells me is basically, hey, we have a big problem, and forgiveness does not really end anything. Like, there just has to be a better system. When you give 420 billion and you still have left 1.3 trillion in student loan debt, it's just crazy insane. And remember, the average person owes around $37,000 in student loan debt. So it only pays down around $10,000. You might be left with $27,000, like $20,000. So it's still a problem, okay? It's still a problem. And lastly, update here. There was no talk about forgiveness in the whole president's budget this year, okay? So what does that mean? It means that the odds of actually having your student loan forgiven is actually very slim. I'm talking about so slim that maybe it's probably not gonna happen, okay? I'm just being honest. I'm just not gonna put all my pieces and basically bet the house, bet the wife, bet the kids that they're actually gonna go ahead and forgive your student loan debt. Even they might not even forgive anything, okay? Let's just be honest, okay? One thing is, Warren Buffett says this all the time, okay, guys? Warren Buffett says this all the time. You don't want to rely on the kindness of strangers. And it's very true. Because trying to wait for the president or Congress or the government overall, usually, if you ever went, for example, to get your car, get your license or whatever it is, they're very slow over there. Anything with the government is usually very slow. So you just don't want to put all your trust in that government slow basket. Let's just be honest here. So if that's what's going on, if that's the truth, then what should you be doing, okay? What should be your plan of action? And by the way, just to summarize here, the update is that we have no update, okay? The only thing we know for sure is that on January 31st, they said, hey, this is the final extension that we're actually going to get. Now, can that change? The answer is yes. Do I think it's going to change? Probably. It probably is. Most likely. They might extend it even further, or who knows what's actually going to happen. But, you know, based on what they're saying, I'm going to take their word for what it is. Their word is January 31st. Things are going to resume to normal. and you will be required to pay your student loans, and you will be beginning to have to pay interest on them. That is the word around town. And by the way, go to your loan provider, go on their blog, read it, and see exactly all the information they're actually giving you, okay? I'll link mine with Nelnet. So if some of you guys actually have Nelnet, I'll link it down below. That way you actually know what the updates actually are. Now, overall, guys, here is my current action plan, and then I'll tell you basically what I would recommend that you actually do. Now, me personally, I said this already, very transparent here. I owe around $21,000 in federal student loan debt. All of it is federal student loan debt. Now, this means that for the past 2-3 years, or 4 years actually, it's been a while, honestly, I've been on pay-as-you-earn payment plan. Now, this payment plan basically says, hey, we charge you around a cap of around 10% of what you make, so no more than that. So you basically pay as you earn. And the idea is you can actually make these payments for 20 years. After 20 years, any amount actually left over, we will forgive it. But, you know my style. I'm not going to wait 20 years to pay off a debt and be like, yeah, you know what, for the next 20 years, I want to go ahead and pay you 10% of what I make for the next 20 years, paying you all that interest and you making all that profit from me. And in reality, that might mean that, hey, my $21,000 in student loan debt means I might pay out to them somewhere around a crazy amount of around like double the money that I actually owe them. So obviously, that is not a smart idea. So what I've done so far is I've taken March 2019 to today, September, whatever September date it actually is. Guess what? I have the full $21,000 to go ahead and pay my student loan debt in full. Well, Tommy, if you have all that money, why not just go ahead and pay it right now? Well, because we have a payment extension. And I'm not in a rush, okay? Honestly, I'm not in a rush to pay the government. So in reality, I'm going to go ahead and wait until January 31st and see exactly what's going to happen. Now, here are the options. If they say we're going to forgive a part of it, great. I save some money, I pay the rest, I'm done. If they say, hey, we're going to charge you interest, things are going to go back to normal, I'm going to grab my full $21,000 and pay it in full and call it a day and not deal with it. If they give us, for example, third option here, another payment extension, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to take my ball and go right back home and just wait. That is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm not in a rush. So basically, as long as I'm not being charged interest, I'm just not going to basically pay anything. Because again, I have the full $21,000 to actually pay it in full. As you guys know, I'm not a fan of debt, but I'm also not a fan of impatience, okay? And the government's very slow and we don't know what's going to happen just yet. However, what do I recommend for the average person out there? Again, the average person is you and me. That 42 million Americans that actually owe money on their student loan debt. The only difference is basically I managed to save a lot of money through a lot of sacrifice. Now, this means, for example, if I owe money on my student loan debt and I'm not going to be able to save all that money up by January, what am I going to do? I'm going to become very, extremely scary aggressive with them. Meaning, I'm going to have my full-time job, obviously. If you don't have one, get a job. Second, I'm going to get a side hustle, whether it's Uber, working at Walmart, or whatever it takes, and maybe another side hustle. I want as many jobs as possible, and I'm going to use all of that money to basically go straight into my student loan debt. Tell me, why, if not charging me interest? Because basically, right now at this moment, if you know for a fact, the math shows you're not going to have the full amount by January 31st of 2022, the answer is you want to make those payments right now. One, guess what? All the money you actually paying is going to go straight towards capital. This is going to save you a ton of money when payments actually resume. Now, let's be honest here, guys. Most people, individuals, normal people, average people, whenever they make a payment towards student loan debt, almost like around 10, 20, 30% of that payment goes straight towards interest. A very little amount goes towards the actual capital, the actual money that you actually owe. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm paying, but nothing's happening. The president forgave like 9.5 million, but we still, billion, sorry about that, but we still owe around 1.7 trillion. Nothing's happening, okay? So the point is, you want to make those payments right now so it goes towards capital, and that way it does move the needle. It does make a difference. Now, for perspective here, right now we are in September, October, November, December, January. Remember, it is January 31st, so it's basically the full month of January. If you're able to save, for example, half your income. And by the way, I wouldn't be as crazy to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna basically rent a room. Forget about my apartment, right? I'll rent a room. I don't care, you know, just to pay this thing off. So if in 5 months I make, for example, per month like $2,000, let's just say I make $4,000, I'm able to save half that money, 50%, and I get, for example, extra jobs, and for example, another $2,000 per month. Guess what? I can pay 4,000 times 5, somewhere like around $20,000 towards my student. Again, right? $20,000 in 5 months for a student loan debt takes a lot of sacrifice, but in my opinion, it is worth it. So if you owe $37,000, which is basically the average, that means, for example, you'll only have left $17,000, a big difference, which basically means you go from whatever it was before, so now you only be in charge an average 6% on your loans, divided by 12, you only be in charge around $85 per month in interest. When you actually owe $37,000, you actually be in charge per month somewhere around, divided by 12, somewhere around $185. So basically $100 more. So again, this makes a big difference. So again, if I am the average person, if I'm not gonna have the full amount, I'm gonna use all of my power, all of my earnings, all of my side hustle, all my potential to basically pay this off as fast as possible and make a difference and actually move the needle. Now, what are things you can actually do to actually help you do this and make it happen? First of all, get a budget. Very important. So first of all, how much money do you spend and how much money do you make? All the expenses that you don't need, like the Spotify, the Netflix, and expensive internet, just basically cut those off and keep what you actually need. Second, basically start paying all your debts using the avalanche method. Meaning, hey, I'm gonna pay the debts with the highest APR, with the highest interest. Right now, student loan debt are basically 0%, but there is, for example, a deadline attached. The deadline is in 5 months, so I would probably pay that off. Now, if you have a credit card, obviously, you pay that one off because basically that's going to be the highest interest that you're ever going to have, whether it resumes tomorrow student loan debt or whatever it is. There's a credit card debt, you pay those first because basically the interest is actually higher. Again, the avalanche method basically says, hey, pay the debt with the highest APR. That would be my plan of action. Get a budget, get some extra jobs, and then basically use that money to pay off your student loan debt as fast as possible. That is my advice. Do not wait until the 31st, because if you do, you'll be in charge a bunch of interest. You don't want to do that. That is my advice, guys, and that is the update. Congratulations, okay? We watched a whole video, and I made a whole video to tell you there's no update. The only thing you can do, though, is basically control what you can control. And by the way, trying to control the government, student loans, you can't control that stuff, okay? So in reality, is a very guaranteed way to go into the grave very early. So again, control your income possibilities, control your payments. Those are things you actually have control over. What the government does, what the Fed does, you have no control over. So don't even worry about those things. Just make a difference with your payments right now. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Comment down below. Are you disappointed? Well, how do you feel? Comment down below. Let me know. See you guys tomorrow. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. On top of that, also, if you want to call me, the link is down below. You can call me for free, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson right here, or watch more content here, or click my face right here. More channels here. See you guys tomorrow, and as always, peace. Long-term team for the win. Love you guys.